Okay, good morning. Sorry about that delay. Uh, my name is Dr. Gorman, and my able assistant here that helped me with this experiment is Lauren the chicken. She went to the trouble of laying 2 eggs for us so we could do this experiment this morning. So we'll say thank you, Lauren. We couldn't do without her. During this experiment this morning, we're going to introduce 3 very big scientific words. I know they're a little bit above your head, but all throughout your science career in high school and college, you will be hearing these words, especially the very first one. The first one is hypothesis. You're going to do a scientific guess when you make a hypothesis. All it is just a guess. So whenever somebody says, "What's your hypothesis?" you tell them what you think. And that is the word that I want you to remember from this lesson for sure this morning is hypothesis. The second word is density. And density, breaking it down, is just the amount of something that you can put in a given volume. We're going to use water this morning. 1 cubic centimeter of water weighs about 1 milliliter. And the last word is buoyancy. Now that's a real good word. It means the ability to float. If I go out in my backyard and jump in my swimming pool, I don't have much buoyancy. I tend to go straight to the bottom. On the other hand, my wife can get out there and get in the pool, and all she has to do is just splash around a little bit every once in a while, and she floats very well. She is very buoyant, and I'm not. Now, the materials that we're going to use this morning in this experiment of will an egg float or will it sink? And we're going to use 2 brown eggs right here. Get them out and try not to break them. I'm just going to show you one of them. We're going to use 2 brown eggs. We're going to use 2 glass containers so that you can see them. What we're using is 500 milliliter beakers. They call them a beaker because it looks like a bird's beak. At least that's what my chemistry teacher told me a long time ago. So I've always believed that. To me, it looks like it should be a half beaker, but they didn't ask me. We're going to have some water. We're going to use quite a bit of water. We have 2 containers of water. We're going to use some salt. We're going to use some tongs to handle the eggs with. You'll use these a lot in your science career throughout high school. And we're going to have a stirring device. Now, what the stirring device is a spoon. They make some fancy stirring rods and this, that, and the other, but we're not going to use them. We're going to use just a plain old spoon. Okay, our procedure is we're going to fill 1 container 3/4 the way full of water. We're going to put about 400 milliliters of water in this glass beaker. All right. Now, you make your hypothesis. Make your guess. If I put this egg in this beaker with water in it, is this egg going to float or is it going to sink? You make your hypothesis because I'm fixing to not drop it, but gently put it in here. And what did it do? It went straight to the bottom. So that means that it will, this is fresh water. This is just like you got out of the faucet at your house or at your school. There's nothing special about it. Now, was your hypothesis correct or was it incorrect? Did you guess that the egg would sink or did you guess that the egg would float? Now, in this case, the egg went to the bottom. So the density was more than the density of water. So 1 cubic centimeter of this egg weighed more than 1 cubic centimeter of water. Now we're going to do the same thing with another beaker. We're going to put about 400 milliliters of water in it. You may have to steal some water from the other container. Yes, we will. Now, we're going to stir in about 6 tablespoons of salt. We're going to make it like ocean water. If you've ever been to the ocean, I know that you've got some water in your mouth, and that is the saltiest thing in the world. And about 2 or 3 days later, you're still going to be trying to get enough water to get that salt out of your mouth. Just a second, I'll tell you a story about my experiment with it. We're going to use our scientific stirring device. Remember, it is a simple spoon. Now, once a long time ago, I was a search and rescue aircrewman in a helicopter for the Navy, and we had to go out and make some overwater rescues. And we wore gear, and we had a helmet, a mask that we put on top of our head, and we held it there. We didn't jump in the water with it on because sometimes it would break and get in your eyes. So you would hold it in place. Well, I forgot to hold it, and I jumped in the water from about 25 feet out of the helicopter. And when I started going under, I realized I didn't have my mask on. So I reached up to grab it, but I went, oh! And when I did, I sucked in about half of the Pacific Ocean. And about 3 days later, I was still had a salty mouth, and I was still trying to figure out how to get that taste out of my mouth. After that, I always made sure I held that mask in place with my hand when I jumped in. Now, we're going to put this in the water. You're going to make your hypothesis. Will it sink or will it float? Let's see what happens. Okay, you can't see it very well, but I can see it perfectly. It is bobbing around in the water. I'm going to put this behind it and hold it over to the side so maybe you can see. Maybe you can see that that egg is floating. It's not sinking. So that means the density of the salt water is more than the density of the egg. Were you correct or were you wrong? All right, we're going to go over the vocabulary words again right quick to finish this lesson up. Hypothesis is your educated guess what's going to happen. If you don't get it right, it's okay because you still proved or disproved the theory. We can still use that information later. Density is the amount of a substance in a given volume. Remember, we used water, 1 cubic centimeter, 1 milliliter of water in 1 cubic centimeter of space. And buoyancy, the ability to float. Go out and jump in your swimming pool when weather gets better and see if you tend to sink or float. Do you have buoyancy?